Well, hey, everybody. I'd like to say it's the Greg and Chuck show. Hopefully others will join in here. I know we have some online updates. Let's see what somebody said. Oh, Aaron cannot make it. We will miss Aaron tremendously. And I don't know if Jeff can make it or not. I didn't see any email about that, but maybe you saw something I didn't see, Greg, but I didn't see anything.
I haven't seen it. He'll probably be on.
Yeah, I think Jeff always tries to get on. So, and anyway, we're here. I do want to let the Annunziato plaintiffs know that if they're on, check your email. Check your email if you're an Annunziato plaintiff. And there is the wonderful Jeff Joseph.
Hi, y'all. I'm going to have to get off as soon as I get the complaint or the status report back from Joe, I'm going to have to get off to file that.
And then you can get back on if we're still here.
Okay. All right.
All right. Yeah, this guy got to get filed the status report in the Kinsley case, right? Because we've already filed the Milligan report. We'll talk about that here in a second, but we just want to welcome everybody out. All right, let's talk about, Jeff, you're here, the Milligan update. So the judge asked for a status report, and the status report is?
It's submitted. It was submitted last Friday. And it looks really good. I'm really happy with the progress that we've made in the case, and especially with the assistance of the government. So out of our over 600 plaintiffs that we originally had, we're down to about 50, and they're continue to move along. So that's really good news for everyone. So, and obviously the ones that are remaining are now very much highlighted for the judge because we've submitted them in a spreadsheet to the judge.
Now, of those 50, one actually canceled.
Yes.
If I recall correctly, and it's really only 34, if I recall correctly, that are literally waiting to be scheduled. You know what this is? The government's been great on this. The government counsel has been great on this. This client still sucks, but the government counsel has been great. But why are there still 34?
Well, a lot of those are Manila, right? So
yes, big chunk.
So we know that Manila is a problem for not only Milligan plaintiffs, but also Ramirez. And so, the good news now is that we get to point that out to the judge. We get to tell the judge that, obviously the rest of the world is doing fine. It's just one or two consulates that are misbehaving.
Right. Why is Manila different from all other consulates that they don't have to adjudicate these cases?
Why are they so? Maybe he'll watch the video from the consul officer there about how we're working so hard for you. We feel your pain.
The worst performing consulate in the world.
Well, the good news is they're historically the worst performing consulate in the world. So they do have that going for them.
Okay, y'all, I'm going to jump off because I think I have what I need. So I'll get back on after I file.
Get back on and you can give us a Kinsley update, which is important. So
okay, sounds good.
Important for a lot of reasons. So Jeff will be back here in a second. I don't want to get in trouble. We did just do, hold on, the Milligan update. Sorry, it was the Milligan update. Go back and listen to that. But it's good news, except for the Manila people. But it's good news for you too, because the judge is going to go, why are all these Manila plaintiffs not done? Why? And so that's the follow up to the report. Now that we've given a status report, we do expect to hear from the judge on the pending motions. We do expect to hear from him. So we'll see. We also did mention just briefly Annunziato. That if you were one of the Annunziato plaintiffs, not the DV case, but the other case, check your email.
Yeah, there's just a handful of you guys, but you're going to be happy.
All right, let's talk about the Gomez Acker. We have no news. Nothing. I get emails all the time, DMs. What's the status? I have it here in my secret cup where is hidden the status. Trust me, the moment there is anything that's posted, you will know because we will put it immediately.
We have actually we've conferred with the government and have each. So have we actually formally reported on that yet to the judge?
Yeah, everything's back in Judge Mehta in the joint response, which was basically 4 separate responses. So the Acker response, Greg, we only have 12 clients left, plus the key issue of visa reissuance, which the judge said in his order, well, I don't need to address that because they posted a notice anybody with a visa can come in.
Yeah.
Clearly not understanding the law or what their posting was. And of course, the government,
we flagged that issue for the judge.
Right, and they refused to answer the question. So in our response, we simply said, Judge, does this mean this? We can't go forward if we don't have the information.
Right.
And as well as them not answering some of the other questions that we asked. So
I think he's going to respond the way we hope he will.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really unhappy that the government has not moved off their position from oral argument that, sorry, we can't do anything any sooner. It's not a legitimate position. It's just not. You know, you need to figure this out. And by the way, has Secretary Blinken resigned yet? Just asking. Go 2021. Also, yes, we know there are now 31 days left in DV 2021. Now, Greg, what's interesting is we've had a number of our plaintiffs get interviews and visas issued, not nearly as many as need to, but they are in oral argument that they told the court that they had scheduled, as of July 17th, 6,000 people for interviews. The people that are calling us now were just being told they have an interview, up to and including the 30th. So they may be trying to get 10,000 people interviewed. We don't know because they're not being forthcoming with this. And the good news about the status report in Gomez is that the judge now knows what to deal with in Go. And I think this is really important for our Go plaintiffs because we're, again, waiting for a final order. Now he knows what the government's going to say, because if they can't process 9,000 visas for 2 years, he's going to have to figure out a way, I think, to force them to adjudicate 40,000 visas this year over and above the new 55,000 DVs, which, Greg, they are scheduling interviews for, at least in one consulate. Somebody got an October 3rd interview for a DV 2022 case.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Eastern Europe, I forget where.
Well, it's pretty clear that we're going to have to sue on that as well. So
let's hope they don't do that. Let's hope we don't have to sue. I mean, I hope we don't have to sue. But for folks in Go, we are fully aware of their obstinance on this. And literally the judge clearly understands the impediment here. And I think he has to realize, besides what we said in oral argument in our pleadings, that this is intentional. This is all intentional. It's not good faith. We tried. Clearly, if they can do 10,000 interviews in 2 months, they could have done them all year long. And they could be doing them now. And they're just not doing them. So there you go. That's our Go update. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions on that, but no. Now, Greg, we want to talk about our USCIS AOS EB delay litigation.
Right.
And we have a little update here from Lily. Lily is so good. I wish she was joining us. Lily said that as right now, this is the Chakrabarti case. Several more of our clients I think 3 or 4 have gotten green card approvals over the last week. Several others have gotten RFEs for their medicals and biometrics, but not everybody's had movement, which is okay. Clearly, we lit a fire under the government. Now, here's what we need to tell you. I really want Jeff. You know what we're going to do? We're going to come back because I want Jeff on the call to tell you what's happening on Wednesday, this Wednesday in 2 days. We're having a call with the judge. And I want Jeff on the call when we do this. So I'm going to skip that and talk about the other K1s. The London case, Lily has told us that this is the King case. Several more cases were transferred from the NBC to the consulate. In the K1 Manila case, this is the Ramirez case. We have had several more approvals and a bunch of denied expedite requests. But again, this is why Milligan's so important, because that issues with that judge, and he now sees the Manila is not moving. So that's not necessarily a bad thing with this. So we've got that going for us. K1 Rio, we had some other folks scheduled. But in all of these cases, we're waiting for the judge's decision on these cases. And I will tell you that a lot of judges do take August off. I have no indication these judges have, but a lot of them do. And every August 1 is when the judges get new clerks. So that can be a slowdown time. But hopefully, now that we're almost in September, we're going to get the decision so we can talk about it. We're as anxious as you are, and I know you're anxious on this. We do want to thank, by the way, all the K-1s that have gotten their visas and their wonderful pictures and their wedding pictures. We're grateful for those. It was always fun to see on Twitter or Facebook, or even if you just mail us a little card. It's just really delightful that that's going along. On the H-1B lottery abuse case, we have sent the government the request of documents that we want. We'll see what they give us. We now have one employer who has given us a letter saying they want to keep employing their person, which is great. I mean, that solves an issue the government's going to bring up. We would still love to have, a free employer put their name on it if they would grade as a plaintiff. So if you're an H-1B lottery abuse plaintiff, then your employer will get on board. It's great. We'd love to have you. So we're going from there. Greg, on the H-1B wage rule case, where are we on that?
I think we are filing our summary judgment motion on September 13th, and we're just tweaking it, but it's pretty done. And
we've got the declarations. I think we're waiting on one more declaration.
Yeah,
and we're going to win that case. So, that is scheduled out over, and that's the wage rule about, hey, the more your employer pays you, the better chance you have winning the lottery kind of thing, which is illegal. It's just flat out illegal. And the reason we're pursuing this, as well as the Chamber of Commerce pursuing this, different courts, different sections of the country, we don't know what the judges are going to do. So we're not going to delay ours, even though the government wanted us to delay it. We want to push forward on that litigation. So that's why we're moving forward on that.
It had really bad implications for students who are, getting their first post-education jobs, as well as nonprofits that can't compete.
And any place outside of major East or West Coast cities.
Yeah.
Because wages are just less in Iowa or even like a Florida or a Georgia. I mean, the cost of living here is 40% less than New York, so you get paid 40% less.
Yeah.
Greg, have you heard any more on EB-5s from Congress?
I actually did hear something today about an effort afoot to try and get a EB-5 reauthorization, that they might attach a couple more things to it, but I don't think they have yet gotten the politics worked out on that they can have that vote yet. So there's definitely people working on it.
All right, so we're going to start answering questions, and then when Jeff comes back, we're going to talk about Kinsley. It's really, really important, and also do a follow-up on the EB adjustment of status.
Should we say something about the call for information?
Yes, Greg. We should definitely do that.
You don't have a headline for it yet. You have to make one for the EAD case. So we put out we've been talking about it. It's probably the most commonly requested litigation that we haven't done, is filing a suit challenging EAD delays. And there's been various reasons why we've held off, partially kind of looking at where litigation has gone that other firms have tried on narrower sets of it. So we think that taking a more broad approach on EADs and 765s more broadly across different categories is the way to go on that. And I put out a call on Twitter for people there. Chuck has that there. For people to respond if they are potentially interested in participating in the litigation, rather than starting to collect money and preparing everything and then not having enough of a response to proceed with it. We decided that we would have this questionnaire form, give people a little bit of information on the case and see what kind of interest there is in proceeding, and then we'll make the ultimate decision on going. So that case is we've gotten a pretty good response on there. It's we know that a lot of times people fill out these forms that don't ultimately proceed with the case, but we have enough at least that have filled it out to give us a pretty good indication that I think the fee that is manageable for people, and there's enough of them that we can probably proceed with that. So we are working on the FAQ and the onboarding for that, and should have something this week to give you guys to get going on that. So I'm excited about that one. I think that that it's a long time coming, and hopefully we'll get some good results for you guys.
Yeah, we've got, I think 280 people have expressed interest in this case so far. Greg, this is a problem because USCIS simply has deprioritized employment cards.
Yeah, so just a little background on it. We actually used to have something in the regulations that required these cases to be adjudicated within 90 days. And that was the case until the very beginning of the Trump administration. The Obama administration is the one that actually did away with that.
Not a Trump issue.
You can't blame Trump for that one.
This is all Obama.
They got rid of it. They had some, they had a lot of complaints at that point that they were not living up to the 90 days anyway, and they were starting to get sued on a regular basis. So they changed the regulation to take away take away a timeline requirement for them, and they made some really nonsensical excuse about security, and that they needed more time to
national security.
Yeah, so they cited some national security argument, which didn't have any factual basis or really any explanation for it, and I know they got a lot of negative comments on it, and they just completely ignore them, and nobody ever sued on that regulation.
I think that even though they removed it, I think that was a bad faith action.
Yeah, well, they also said, we're still going to basically abide by 90 days most of the time. We just want to give ourselves a little bit more flexibility on cases where it's needed.
Yeah.
Now, what we do know is when we were doing the research for this case, the 2019 fee regulation, USCIS was forced to tell the public how much time it takes on an average case so that they can indicate why the fee that they were proposing for that kind of application form is appropriate based on how much time it takes the agency to adjudicate that kind of case. And so they indicated that it takes a grand total of 0.2 hours to adjudicate. So they need $465 or whatever the fee is that they charge for 765s, because 0.2 hours justifies that. And it's like, well, I would love that would work, have that law firm where we could charge that kind of money for $465 for 12 minutes of work.
I think that's about $3,500 an hour.
Yeah. Anyway, but of course they still take 8 months or 9 months or 10 months or even longer to adjudicate these cases, even though it takes a grand total of 12 months. It's a cash machine, these 765. So it is a good illustration of how utterly mismanaged they are. And I know sometimes USCIS people watch these calls and all that. So I'm talking to you at USCIS, 12 minutes, $465, yet you're still taking 3/4 of a year to adjudicate these cases. Whoever is responsible for that should lose their job.
Fired. You should be fired.
Yeah, you deserve to be sued on that. And I have no qualms of promoting that. So hopefully a judge will agree. But that's kind of the background for it. There's no connection at all between how long these cases are taking versus how long an examiner actually has that file on his desk or her desk on there. It's just complete mismanagement. Where does all the money go? I don't know, but it's clearly not going to customer service and adjudicating these cases.
Here's what we know about that, by the way, that USCIS is sitting on somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 to 800,000 unadjudicated EADs as of March 31, 2021.
Right.
700 to 800,000 of these.
Where did all the money go?
You're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million.
Yeah.
$30 million, something like that. If this was a private business, it would be bankrupt. Because it makes no economic.
It would be being investigated. For fraud.
Oh yeah, for fraud. Where is this money? I mean, I know they squandered $1 billion trying to build an online system that the IRS has had in place for 25 years, but That was years ago they blew out of that money. Are they still paying IBM off? Truly frustrating. Anyway, if you're interested and you're whatever your EAD. Now, there is an H4 L2 piece of litigation on which they're waiting a hearing. This litigation that we're talking about is every type of EAD.
Right.
The problem with H4 and L2 EADs is that at least H4s are discretionary, whereas DACA EADs aren't discretionary. If you prefer DACA, you get your EAD. If you get, if you've got your AOS, that's a mandatory EAD. And most EADs are mandatory, no discretion whatsoever. So if you've got one I've been waiting on more than 6 months.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We're asking for people after 6 months, and there were a couple of reasons why we picked that 6-month date. One of which is if you're applying for an extension, you can't file more than 6 months ahead of time. And also for these cases where there are automatic extensions of work authorization, 180 days is all you get on the extension. So after that, you basically are in trouble again. So we thought that that was a good way to sort of screen out people that have a better claim to make than people that have been pending less.
Greg, they could literally moot the lawsuit if we file this by issuing a policy memo that says all EADs are extended automatically upon a filing of a receipt until we get to it.
Yeah.
They could literally do that.
That would probably, and that would make our plaintiffs happy, and it would make everybody else happy.
Yeah, I mean, they did this for TPS, right? They just said, "Oh, just print this piece of paper out and give it to the DMV, and you can get a license."
Yeah.
So they could easily deal with this. And I think this is my frustration: is they are not doing the easy stuff to ease the burden. They're not doing the easy stuff, which is really frustrating because there's not a lot of easy stuff. There's a lot more hard stuff, and then we know they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Because they're dorking around the easy stuff. It's just very frustrating. I'm just telling you. Can you hear my frustration? Probably see it on my Twitter feed more than anything else. All right, let's take a look here at some comments. We got a few comments here. Trey Yates says, does the good luck defendant statements that they cannot process DV 2020 affect Go? I have literally no idea what you're talking about. I'm not involved in the good luck litigation. I don't know what you're talking about. I hear he's got a follow-up. Neil Vermillion, who is the head of TravelGov, says they cannot process DV affect Go situation. Okay, first of all, the Afghanistan situation is now over. Right, we left today, and so you can't blame a year's worth of not adjudicating DV cases on 5 weeks of Afghanistan, which, by the way, you've been dorking around for the last 10 years on. So I think that's much ado about nothing. I think the judge will see right through that garbage. So no, I do not believe it affects Go. I just don't. So now that I know what you're talking about, the Vermillion statements and. They weren't just in the good luck. They were their response to the overall judge stuff. And the statement from the head of the KCC or wherever she was, we're hiring 5 more people. Really? 5 more people? That's awesome. That's just very cool. Anyway, thank you, Trey. Alan Johnson, why did from the judge so long without issue? I don't know. Measy is back. Hello, Measy. Go plaintiff. Nearly served all over my country except for a few, and I am one except did no fault of my own. Really sad. I hope we win too. I think that's crazy. Keep in mind about the DV case, right? Every country is allotted a certain number of winners, and if they use those winners up and you don't get interviewed, then you're not getting a visa. I mean, that's just how the numbers work. So, obviously our goal is to get our clients interviewed, but if they issue all the visas allotted to that country, then there's nothing to be allotted. I mean, the judge can't give you more. I think that's beyond the scope of the litigation. As far as I know, Alan, there's no consolidation or anything that I'm aware of. Chakrabarti, should Chakrabarti place also during the coming EAD? That's a good question. I mean, go ahead and go on. You're not joining anything by going to the link. You go in and sign up. You're interested, but say, hey, look, I'm a Chakrabarti plaintiff.
Yeah, we don't have onboarding on that, but you know what? That's a good question for us to address in the FAQ. I mean, we generally say if you're already litigating, you already have mandamus or something pending on the 765. But I guess technically speaking, if you're in Chakrabarti, you do have that pending because your 765 is part of your adjustment application.
Yeah, and it's included in there. So I don't think you have to join a new lawsuit, but go ahead and just put your name in, and that'll remind us to get.
I think we might, Chuck, if it came to it, we would probably do something along the lines of with Go, which was basically kind of an evolution from Enunciado, where after we got that initial determination on Enunciado, we decided to do Go to kind of solve that issue. It may be the case if we don't get the result we want in Chakrabarti, we will figure out a way to connect those folks to to this case.
Great. Grumarko, hope things are good in Serbia. Good night, sir. Why the judge didn't make it? I don't know. I just don't know. Patrick. Oh, hello, Patrick. K1 Ramirez, have you heard anything from Kirilli as of late? No, not on. Jeff would give you the more up to date on that. I know that he has, when he's talking about the Milligan cases, talked to Kirilli about the Ramirez stuff, but I can't tell you exactly what that was. Hopefully Jeff will come back on and we'll be able to answer your questions. You all start asking questions. The lawyers aren't. People, once we create the stream, it sits there waiting for us to start. That's okay. We get to the questions. Miss Dode, my case number is Africa 4000. Casey refused to my interview because my document process in cartoons. Again, that's why this is why we are reserving the numbers for this type of situation. Thank you, Miss Dode, for letting us know. Kamlesh, AOS delay. What is expected of 7-1 hearing? All right, so Jeff's not here yet. This is interesting. And I think, did we talk about this last week? I can't recall whether we did or not. Was I even here last week? I can't recall.
Yeah, you were here. What I don't recall is whether the news about what prompted this.
Okay, so
wasn't known yet.
So the judge called Jeff. The judge assigned a Chakrabarti case. Called Jeff out of the blue, and this is actually really quite funny. And said, "Look, why are all these USCIS lawsuits coming to me? There's like 50 of them." And Jeff is, I think, like very, very uncomfortable because you don't talk to a judge without the other side on the phone. You just don't do that. Certainly would never call him. The judge called Jeff, and he said, "I'm trying to get a hold of the government. I want to talk to the general counsel of USCIS." And I've been trying to call her on the 800 number I got on the internet. And anybody who's called the USCIS number, you just have to laugh. Can you imagine a U.S. judge says, "District Court judge, please press 1, press 2. He's going through this whole menu. He doesn't know the shortcuts. And then finally he gets somebody on the phone who says, "Call back in 72 hours. And nobody knows the number. So he asked Jeff for the number. Just as I don't have her number readily available, but I know Ashley Tabador. I'm sure." He said, "Well, I want to talk to her. We're going to have a hearing on 9/1, September 1, and I want her to explain to me why everybody's suing her agency over these cases." So Jeff was able to connect the judge to the government lawyer who had entered an appearance. Had not entered an appearance, but we knew who it was.
That's why he called Jeff, because he didn't have a contact on the other side yet.
We got the contact, and in fact, he gave us the list. There's only like 6 lawyers involved, but there are over 50 cases in his court.
They're mostly like 1 and 2 plain. I mean, they're like one.
Right?
Yeah, they're one-off cases. We're the only, I think.
Yeah, our friends Jim Hacking and Brian Green, great, all great lawyers. Great lawyers. And apparently Miss Tabador is going to be on the call with the who knows how many U.S. attorneys are assigned to all these cases. But here's the difference. Our case is different because in our case, it's not just the mandamus. All these other are mandamus cases. Ours is the only one asking to reserve numbers. So ours is very different, which is good that we're having this call, because we're going to bring up the fact that, Judge, just so you know, ours is not a straight mandamus case. Ours also asked this court to reserve these numbers because of the bad faith of the government and not doing their job. And we'll be filing. We have scheduled with the government our briefing schedule. We've submitted it to you. We'll want a hearing on this case for the end of the month. So this is a really good opportunity, and it will be open to the public. You will be able to call in and listen to it. Won't be able to see the Zoom call. The judge himself, judge is a senior judge, which means he's basically retired, but he's still judging. And he's the one that stopped Trump's ending of the refugee program from going forward a couple of years ago. So I'm very happy with the judge. If I'm not mistaken, he's a Clinton appointee. I think I could be wrong. Early Clinton appointee, I think. But yeah, we're very happy with this. So that's we are moving forward with Chakrabarti. We have a briefing schedule for the preliminary injunction / summary judgment, and we have hopefully a hearing set by about the 20 to 23rd of September. So we're good there. Is the judge combining the AOS related case to a common hearing? Again, I just explained all that. We get that. We get that. Thank you, Kamlesh. And again, you'll be able to listen in to what's going on. All right.
Dial in early is my advice based on past calls.
Yeah, because it'll fill up. They limit the number of people that can join. Greg, will you be live tweeting that?
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have an inside number for us on there. So I'll get on that one, and then I will. I should be able to tell people what's happening.
By the way, I'm getting sworn into the Maryland District Court on September 10th.
Yeah,
so we don't have to rely only on Jeff being the guy on all these cases. But you and I are both admitted as pro vice, so we're in good shape.
Yeah.
This is a good question. Does the judge know that embassies issued 0 visas? Well, he knows that there are embassies that have issued 0 visas. Yes, he does know that. He doesn't know every single one of them because there's more than the ones you list there. This is a great question. Should Chakrabarti plaintiffs get a medical done without an RFA? We talked about this last week.
Yeah. I'm advising people to do it and to get two copies of sealed envelopes with the medicals inside on there. They can do that. It's just a matter of doing it twice, and then keeping one for the RFE, and then potentially as well interfiling the other one where there's with the barcode. That one has a it's I would say that it's probably 50-50 as far as whether it'll actually make it into the file. But if you have the other one ready to go when you get the RFE, you're fine.
Yeah, so I think it's a good idea to do it. This Viv the Gamer, hello Viv the Gamer. This is an interesting question, Jeff. I mean, Greg, take a look at this. First of all, what is a PIN code?
I don't know.
Well, Viv the Gamer has figured out some sort of secret code that suggests his case is in Massachusetts. Viv, we would honestly, I mean, I've been doing this 30 years.
We're not saying you're wrong. We just you're telling us stuff we don't know. So
maybe you figured something out because of the technology you have that we don't have. But if your case is in Massachusetts, you are on the Massachusetts timeline. And the service did come out and say that they're focusing on employment-based adjustments. But I can tell you, we did our calendar for September today in our office, and we have no employment-based adjustments scheduled in September. And Atlanta has something like 8,000 of these cases. So you got me. I just don't know. But I would love, Viv, for you to help us understand this. When can plaintiffs expect movement in the case? Well, some already have had plaintiffs movements in the case. Some have been approved. But we can't make sure everybody moving at the same time. That's impossible until we have a hearing.
We may have a better idea of what the judge is thinking after our hearing.
Yeah, because the government lawyer, the judge is going to ask her, when will these cases be approved? Because he doesn't want to deal with 50 preliminary injunctions or 50 TROs that are sitting on his desk. He wants them to moot them out. So that actually is a good thing about the hearing. let's see. Chakrabarti, government says they will reserve these for adjudicate later. Can we ask EADs issues? Well, that's a good question. I do not expect the government to say that. But if you filed your EAD in October, November, December, so that means your EAD has been pending 11, 10, or 9 months. So when we tell the judge that, which by the way, just so you know, a lot of our clients don't even have their employment cards that they've paid for.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of thinking about this. It makes me think that maybe we should be okay with with those folks being in the EAD case too.
Osama wants to know the name of my background picture. I actually bought this on the street from an artist in Lima, Peru. And I have it on my wall because I lived in Peru for a couple of years, and Peru's kind of inside my heart. And this always makes me feel happy because it's very much cultural. And I mean, you'd see this in my office, and you'd see lots of paintings of Don Quixote. What we do all day long is tilt at windmills. Sujay, the above to be issue ADs. Yeah, we got that. So we got your question. Why aren't they issuing the ADs? VJ Tripathi. Okay, if current, well, that's a good question. If everything's current and they have everything, what is stopping them from adjudicating? Now, Greg, you mentioned earlier that it takes 0.2 hours to adjudicate a 765. How long does it take to adjudicate a 485? Do you recall? I do recall.
I think it was less than an hour.
I thought it was 1.6 hours.
Oh, you might be right. It's not long.
No.
Considering how much you pay for that application?
$1,225. So an effective hourly rate of about $500 to literally look at an application and push a button.
Pretty good for a job that doesn't even require a high school degree. I don't think they have no education requirements for
an officer
for that position.
We're not making this up, people. This is real. Let's see. Love John Lovell. I love John Lovell too. King versus Blinken, and I got to prove it. Yay! Congratulations! Woohoo! That's great news. Lily will be very happy to hear that as well. Send pictures when you get to the airport. Liu Linlin. One of these is not adjudicated the rest of the plaintiffs in the USA. Well, first of all, they will adjudicate everybody in the AOS. That will happen. The better question is, what happens if they don't adjudicate them by September 30th? And this is where the second part of our litigation comes in, is to reserve these numbers. You will get adjudicated. I mean, it's just a question of when, but we don't want to lose the numbers because that makes everybody else wait years more. So that's, so Liu, you will get your adjudication, but we will really want it by September 30th, and we want to reserve more numbers. Okay?
Yeah. Plus, if we don't get them by September 30th, I mean, what's to say that USCIS at that point won't just take another year or two to adjudicate these cases?
Yeah, exactly. Which is why the mandamus does not go away on September 30th. All right. Because remember, our point on this is that no adjustment should take 12 months. None.
Not when it takes 1.2 hours.
It's inherently unreasonable. It's inherently unreasonable. So if it's inherently unreasonable, why is it taking that long? So that's why that's important. Patrick, this is a good question. Okay, everybody in Ramirez gets their K1s. They come in the U.S., they adjust. Yeah, there's not a lot of. There's a lot of Ramirez plaintiffs, but not a lot of Ramirez plaintiffs. A couple hundred adjustments that's a drop in the bucket for USCIS, spread all around the country in local offices. So no, I don't anticipate a mass AOS action in the future. I think they'll relatively adjudicate these cases pretty darn quickly. Because remember, at that point, they're an immediate relative. They're spouse of a U.S. citizen. So those are supposed to be number one priority, supposedly. You're welcome, Michael. Are we doing any litigation on EB3 interviews at consulates worldwide? That you should happen to mention that. So this was kind of part of the Nunziato case. And we have been thinking about the fact that basically, Greg, very few EB3s or EB2s or EB1s have been adjudicated by consuls because they are, if I'm not mistaken, a fourth priority. If I'm not mistaken, it could be three, but I think they're fourth. And now this is where I wish Jeff was on the call, because this is the Kinsley case. This is the Kinsley case. We have EB2s, EB3s, EB1s in the Kinsley case. We're filing a status report today on the NIVs. The Kinsley case is about the priority system itself, the illegality of Department of State setting priorities when that they have no authority to set priorities. They are under an order from Congress to adjudicate all cases. That they may internally prioritize cases is inappropriate. Everything should be in gate order. I mean,
yeah. Well, and plus there's this broader question of like, why is it even okay for them to be able to, only do half their work? That's kind of the problem we have here, is that they start with this assumption that it's perfectly fine that they only adjudicate 30 or 40% of the cases that they normally do, when the rest of the world is working at a feverish pace to get our jobs done. And certainly USCIS, Department of Labor, and the other immigration agencies haven't been able to operate that way, even though we're suing those agencies for slowing things down. They certainly haven't done anything remotely close to the Department of State as far as not working at all on there. Those people are at least working a 40-hour week. Department of State, most of these examiners are only working like 20 hours a week, getting paid full time, and it's not even their fault. A lot of them would like to work full time, but they've created these processes where they are preventing State Department officers from working full time on their cases. So
Greg, about that, why do they only have to be open from 9 to 4 or 9 to 3? Why don't they have two shifts of people? Okay, now you're gonna go from 7 till 2, and you guys are gonna go from 3 to 10.
Why can't they telecommute?
Exactly.
Why can't they access their systems from outside of the building so that they can work from their home desks like the rest of the world does?
I wish I had an answer to that question.
Yeah, why can't they do video interviews? They could do video interviews. They don't do that.
National security. Oh, come on. People tell USCIS works remotely. How you're more important than
I hate to say it, everybody's data has already been stolen from the Department of State multiple times with these hacks. I mean, it's like, so all of a sudden this is where they're drawing the line?
Well, you have to, national security. And then judges go, ooh, national security. That's what they always fall back on. This is an interesting, Greg, you are an expert in the Meng Amendment. What's our plan B? Well, our plan B is not to lose plan A. That's our plan. That's our plan B. But if Congress passes a bill that moots out the lawsuit, awesome.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on the Meng Amendment, but it's we will have a better idea in 2 weeks where Congress is going on this stuff. That's when we're going to have this reconciliation bill. That is the main effort for a while on immigration. So we're going to have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen over probably the next 3 or 4 months on immigration, based on what the committee comes up with over the next 2 weeks and what the Senate parliamentarian does.
Well, Greg, they have to vote by the end of the fiscal. They have to vote before the fiscal year starts, right?
Yeah. So the plan is to have committee language out and ready for by September 15th and have a final vote by September 30th. Now, it could be they could pass and the committees could send all this language and the parliamentarian says immigration is a no-go, in which case my guess is it's all getting stripped out and left on the cutting room floor. And then we get a reconciliation bill without it. We will have to get some separate language to extend a couple of programs that expire on September 30th. But so it could be that nothing happens, or that they don't pass this reconciliation bill and they just end up doing a straight budget bill and something, some other stuff. So there's still a lot of things that could happen. I've been relatively optimistic by, the fact that we haven't seen any obstacles coming up yet that look like they can't be overcome, like a senator, a Democrat saying they don't want immigration to be in the bill. We haven't had that yet. In fact, we've had a couple of people that were potential problems already say that they're okay with it. or the parliamentarian saying something now that indicates that it's going to be a problem, or these budget resolutions not passed, the first two that have passed so far. So there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong. And so far, everything seems to be moving along the path that they could do immigration.
Just remember, the Democrats can screw up a one float parade. Just remember that. We'll see if they can get it done. This is a good question. This is a good procedural question. What if Mr. Chakrabarti gets a green card? What happens to the lawsuit? Nothing.
Yeah, no, it continues.
Nothing. It keeps going. Don't worry. I hope he does. I think, or the family. I hope they do. That'd be great. Chakrabarti wanted to know plaintiff around what PD and which.
By the way, on the Kinsley case, Mr. Kinsley got his entered the
Kinsley got his green card
a few months ago.
Yeah. Heck, it's coming up on a year soon, isn't it? I mean, it seems like it's forever. All right, let's see what we got here. We have lots of questions. Hold on a second. It skipped ahead when you know how that does that, Greg. Drives me crazy. When will the government respond? Okay, so again, the H-1B case is on a new track. We're going to be probably having a final hearing in the case in October. So there's going to be government's going to get me the documents by, I think, September 20th. Then by October 5th, we'll put in our motion for summary judgment, motion for PI, update that. They'll do their motion to dismiss or motion for summary judgment, and we're going to go from there. Okay. Oh, Jeff Patachek's got his interview in Rio. Awesome. Congrats news. That's great news. Chakrabarti, are we prepared? The government plays the COVID card. We got that covered.
They play the COVID card in every case.
It's not even like COVID cards on their forehead pointing outwards. I mean, they're wearing it like a scarlet A. Let's see. Got here. LMM got an interview date. No, she has my sputum. Yeah, this is the sputum.
Actually, I don't know if this is a person that contacted us earlier, but we've heard it. We heard from we had another correspondence about the same issue today on there. And this was, Chuck, how did we deal with this issue last year? Because it was the same thing that was coming up then.
We had several people lose their DV 2020 because they didn't get the sputum test back.
Yeah.
In some countries, it takes 8 weeks. Some countries, it takes less. And,
yeah,
and
they're ending up in the line for the 9,000.
Yeah. So, that again, this is why it's so important to reserve the visas, because there's no other solution if you don't get that sputum, which is just garbage. They all, these consulates know this. In some countries, everybody's got to get a sputum test, so it's absolutely outrageous. They don't have a September 30 deadline. They got a July 30 deadline. It's really fun. Liu Lin, we do not have the call-in number. We will put that on the Twitter machine and email our Chakrabarti listserv when we get that. Okay. PIN code is a zip code.
Oh.
Okay. But why? From where? What zip code? I don't understand how you're getting the Lowell, Massachusetts zip code on a receipt notice. I don't understand that. I'm still confused.
Yeah,
I'm still confused by that. And because immigration has no processing facility in Lowell. I mean, there may be an immigration office there, but there's no place you submit stuff to there. Okay. On AOS cases, yes, after October 1, if you don't get your adjustment of status approved by October 1, they will require you to send in your COVID vaccine. Good. I think they should personally, but that's just me. But that rule does not apply to consular processing cases yet. Just adjustment of status, just FYI. Okay. Let's see. Is it possible to repost the redacted Manila case file? The link is broken. Greg, would you ask Lily about that?
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, EB3's fourth tier. I thought so. I mean, we would be I think we would be interested if we had, but really the Kinsley case may decide that for us. And that's fully briefed, waiting on the judge. And Jeff's working on getting that judge's status report today. And that may solve our problem. That may solve this problem. So, we don't want to bring a lawsuit and charge everybody with this judge may fix it. So we'll go from there. let's see. Can the government still challenge a final decision of government? Of course they can. They can appeal. But I know this. They have to get permission to appeal from the Solicitor General and the Attorney General's office. They have not asked for that yet. They have not asked.
I think in my recollections, in a lot of these cases as well, once the judge issues the order to adjudicate cases, they may appeal, but they're not going to ignore, and they will still issue They still will issue as if they are going to be.
Yeah, they have to get a stay in place if they not want to obey the order. Okay. Do we have an option to suggest to give the green card to everybody and revoke if not?
A lot of things have been discussed. And that was one of the things that I forget who I was having the conversation with, but, as far as things that the USCIS could do to not actually have to issue the green cards while getting the visas all reserved. And that was one idea that was floated, was at 11:59, adjudicate, and at 12:01 to revoke on there. So effectively they all get adjudicated because the numbers don't roll over after a revocation on there. So there's a way for them to do it. I think the cleaner way to do it is just what we had advocated, which was just to reserve the numbers and don't play games with the revocations and all that.
I don't think they even need to change the rules.
You can reserve the numbers without actually issuing the green cards.
They don't. There's no regulation necessary to do that.
Yeah,
I don't believe. I think they can do that.
They can just interpret it the same way they do for the H's.
I think that's one of our strongest arguments in the case. What's the worst decision on Go? The worst.
What would be the worst? That we lose.
Yeah, you need to ask a lawyer that question.
Judge would say there's been no unreasonable delay. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, sorry, I don't care that the government screwed you. I just don't see that happening. Can someone still join the lawsuit? No, sorry. Rohit, good to see you again. It's been a while. Our last question, Waleed Morsi. If we win, how can we make sure that some of the reserve visas are allocated to Montreal? Well, keep in mind, of course, Canada's not in the lottery, right? I mean, so he's processing in Montreal because of his country of birth.
Right. He's probably a landed immigrant in Canada.
And so that's a question, again, for working, because even though the judge is in order, keep in mind, the judge will require status reports. So we can go back there and say, Judge, they're issuing a whole bunch of these visas and nobody in Montreal is doing this. Yeah. Or nobody in Manila is doing this, or nobody in Khartoum is doing this. And it's not being allocated properly. Okay. So.
Yeah. By the way, we've had a lot of people asking us about expanding adding plaintiffs to Chakrabarti. It's something that we're discussing. We haven't made any final decisions on it, but hopefully we'll have some news for you soon on that.
Yeah, I will know a lot more after Wednesday when we post that too. Can the USCIS issue a green card without a medical? Only if they want to revoke it for being improperly issued later on. No, they can't. There's no provision in the law to.
I just got contacted by somebody who got the green card issued without the medical, and they're asking like what to do, and it was like, well, I mean, it's an interesting question because it's not entirely clear what the appropriate way to handle it is.
Government lawyer did not tell us that everybody's being worked on, just that she sent the list to the government. Keep in mind, the government lawyer in this case does not work for her client. She works for the Department of Justice. Right. So she's not at immigration to walk down the hallway and say,
she's essentially the outside law firm for the for USCIS.
Oh, all right. Do we need to submit new medicals, even if old medicals were submitted? Well, the answer to that question is no, but you may need to submit a COVID test or a COVID vaccination. All right, Greg, we didn't get Jeff back, but I think we covered the stuff.
What was on? What do we have anything we want to say on Kinsley?
Oh, we did. We talked about Kinsley a little bit. We're waiting on the judge after he gets the update to then make a decision on the pending motions, which are pending final adjudication on these. Okay. Oh, here, AF Virginia got an RFE saying, send your documents back for September 30th. Isn't it nice to see USCIS actually doing their job? That would be good. So there we go.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. Greg, you are live on.
I am live tomorrow at 1 Central Time.
And I'm live on Wednesday at 2 on our respective firm YouTube and Twitter. I'm doing Periscope, so Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook all at the same time because the StreamYard is just so good at doing that. So that's kind of cool. My only thing, Greg, is I have to update my TikTok. So we need to get a TikTok. Maybe you and I could do a TikTok together that involves both singing and dancing. I mean, that will be our next thing. All right, everybody, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.